Dropper posts are a must-have if you're a mountain biker. Unfortunately, there's a ton of dropper posts on the market right now that promise reliability, but they fail to actually work correctly for more than a month or two. In this video, I'm going to share the pros and cons of our favorite and the most reliable dropper post, the Fox Transfer. The Fox Transfer Post was released back in 2016, and very little has changed with the internal design from the original design, and that's because this thing is just so dang reliable that there's been literally no reason to change much inside of it. The Transfer Post uses a sealed cartridge which uses both air and oil to make this thing go up and down, which is, yeah, pretty similar to how most dropper posts on the market function, but simply put, the Transfer Post just works better and is more reliable. Well, let's hop into the pros and cons of the Fox Transfer Post. That was really cheesy. All right, well, let's hop into the pros and cons of the Fox Transfer Post. All right, let's hop into the pros and cons of the Fox Transfer Post. Pro number one is reliability. The Fox Transfer Post has been by far our best-selling dropper post for the past several years ever since they came out. We've sold tons of these things, and we have warrantied, I think, 2 or 3, which is pretty insane. Some other dropper posts that we've sold, I'm not kidding, we warrantied like 50% of the ones that went out to customers, which sucks because I don't like selling things that don't work, and I don't like when customers have to take away from their time in the trail, send things back and forth to us for us to work on and fix, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt. But with the Transfer Post, that's just not an issue, and it's definitely been the most reliable dropper post that we've sold over the past several years. Pro number 2 is the feel. Now, the Transfer Post not only feels awesome on the trail, but seriously, just having this thing in your hand versus other dropper posts on the market, which are both cheaper or very similarly priced, they just feel a lot better. Feels like it had more thought and more time put into not only the design and the engineering, but also just the manufacturing process. They feel super sturdy and they feel like a high-end product. Whereas some dropper posts that are maybe even like $15 cheaper or the same price, they just feel kind of cheesy. They don't really feel like a high-end product. Pro number 3 is the sound. This might seem like a kind of silly detail to even mention, but the sound on the dropper post is super important. The Transfer Post has a really loud top-out clunk, and it also makes a noise all the way at the bottom, so you definitely know when this thing is fully maxed out at the top of its travel or all the way down. Most other posts are pretty quiet. It's actually pretty tough to know if your post is fully extended and all the way up. Really pain in the butt when you are climbing and you need to get your seat up really quick to get on the saddle and make your way up like some really weird techie climb or something like that. And also, a lot of those silent dropper posts honestly just don't work very well. I don't know what it is, but all those ones that are pretty quiet, a lot of them have this problem where they get stuck kind of like at the 3/4 mark of the travel, and you seriously just have no idea where your dropper post is, which is pretty annoying when you're riding. This one, super nice, loud top out clunk. You're always gonna know where the top of the travel is when you're riding. And when you use a Transfer Post and then go to one of those cheaper, quiet posts, you're really gonna know what I'm talking about and why that's so important. Pro number 4 is the ease of installation. The Transfer Post is definitely easier to install than some droppers where you have a little bushing that goes on the cable, which just hooks onto the end, and then you run the cable up through the frame and it actually cinches down at the lever on the bar. That way it's just a lot easier to install this thing. You don't have to be so accurate the first time cutting your housing, and honestly, it's just a huge pro of ours in the shop where we're installing these all day. Pro number 5, the price. The Transfer Post is available in 2 models. We've got the Performance Series and the Factory Series. The Performance Series has that black anodized coating, and the Factory Series has Fox's Kashima coating. That's seriously the only difference between these two is the coating. And is it really worth it? Honestly, Kashima is Fox's like hard anodized coating, which is supposed to have less stiction, but honestly, these both perform virtually the same on the trail. I don't think that performance is going to be the big deciding factor between the 2 coatings. Honestly, it's going to come down to if you have a Fox fork or shock with the Kashima and you just want to make your bike all match. The Performance Series sells for $294. The Factory Series is $344, so 50 extra bucks for that bling bling factory Kashima coating. This means that the most reliable and highest end dropper post is not actually the most expensive. This is pretty crazy because typically the stuff that works the best also ends up costing the most amount of money. So go with the Transfer Post, save yourself some money, and get a better working dropper. Sounds like the Transfer Post is pretty perfect, but of course, if it's designed by humans, there's always going to be a couple cons. So let's hop into the cons of the Transfer Post. Con number 1 is insertion length. Insertion length on the Transfer Post is not the shortest, it's not the longest, but there's definitely a few droppers in the market that are shorter in terms of how long they are and how short. Intermission. number 1, insertion length. Insertion length with a transfer post is definitely not the shortest out there. Insertion length is basically from here to here and how far you can put it into a frame. Most modern bikes have pretty deep seat post insertion, so this isn't going to be a huge deal for most people. However, if you are trying to squeeze every last millimeter of dropper post travel into a small frame or a frame with pretty short insertion depth, then the transfer post might not be best for you. Con number 2, serviceability. The transfer serviceability is both a pro and con. Now let me explain. The transfer post's sealed cartridge does require some proprietary tools to take this thing apart and do a full rebuild on. However, these things are so dang reliable and just work so well for so long that there's basically no effort required to keep these things running smooth. Lots of cheaper or more budget-friendly dropper posts in the market do require some consistent maintenance where you have to like pull up the collar and add some grease underneath it and take the saddle off or take it out of your bike and put air into it. But honestly, we still see transfer posts come into the shop that we sold like 2 or 3 years ago and they still feel like brand new. However, after a couple years, it's going to be likely that you're going to want to at least service this thing to make sure that there's fresh grease in here, make sure that you're not going to damage the coating or anything. But even though you can't service this yourself, all you got to do is just send it to a shop like us who can do it in-house, or Fox. They'll rebuild this thing for you inside and out, make it good as new. And honestly, the only people that the whole serviceability thing with the transfer post is going to be a con to is those that straight up just want to be able to tell their friends that they rebuilt their dropper post on their own. So honestly, like I said, it's a pro and a con. Con number 3 is the lever. Unlike the transfer post itself, the transfer lever isn't very awesome. It's got a super small thumb pad, it's not very ergonomic, and it just destroys cables, and we're really hoping that Fox redesigns it. But don't let that dissuade you from the transfer post because these do not include a lever in the price. The lever is an additional $65 on top of the price of the dropper post itself, which is coincidentally about the same amount of money that it costs to get a P&W Components loam lever or Wolftooth Components remote, which are just way better designed than the Fox lever, and we would recommend getting one of those and you'll be super happy. Sweet, well that was the rundown of the pros and cons of our favorite and the most reliable dropper post on the market, the Fox transfer post. These are available in both 30.9 and 31.6 diameters to fit most modern mountain bikes and are available with 100 millimeters, 125, 150, and 175 millimeters of drop. If you have any questions on which dimension or travel will fit with you and your bike, give us a call at the shop, 360-306-8827, or shoot us an email, info@thelostco.com. We'll be happy to help. If you're getting pretty sick and tired of your unreliable dropper post, like getting stuck halfway up and you have to pull it up with your hand, don't worry, you're not alone. Lots of people have issues with most dropper posts out there, and they end up switching to the transfer post with us, and they're super happy that they did. So if you'd like to hop on a transfer post, click this link, head over to our website, order one of these bad boys up. We'll ship it to your door. We do free shipping in the USA. Should be easy peasy. Until next time, happy trails.